Hello. This is podcast number 15, and the topic is life. Please like the podcast, comment, and if you want to email me, I am the Great Jew Atheist at gmail.com. That again is the Great Jew Atheist at gmail.com. So today's subtopic is an interesting one. It's called Decision Making System. And my decision making system is called a modified cost benefit analysis system. I made it up myself. Generally, you take the cost benefit analysis system and I just modified it based on a book I read, by a very excellent decision making book by a Dr. Rubin, doctor psychologist. And his basic thing was that rarely does a decision make tremendous thing, the tremendous difference. The key is to make the decision, right? And so I've kind of come up with a couple of steps to add to the cost benefit analysis, and I find this decision making system is an excellent system. My problem is finding something to decide on. I don't make decisions. I just want to give one correction from a previous podcast about elephant seals. Elephant seals, I had said the dominant male, how do beta males or the smaller males mate and pass on their genes? Well, I had said that they sneak up on the beach, and when two alpha males are fighting, they go and sneak a copulation. Now, I have found out since that that is not true, or I think that's not true. According to Wikipedia, the alpha male will get a beta male to look after his harem and alert him in case another alpha male is trying to mate with one of his harem. And in return, he will give the beta male a female from his harem. So that's how the beta males get the genes in the next generation. So I don't think that's true, but I could be wrong. So I'll have to do more research on that. So of elephant seals, pretty advanced creatures, by the way, you creationists. So that's the correction. So let's take a talk about today's topic. And let's see if we can get this. Modified cost benefit analysis. This is hard. Great Jew Atheist. I got to get a type on. Okay, so how do you do it? Now, first thing you need to do is you get yourself a piece of paper. You can also use the computer, Excel, Word, etc. Not very expensive, right? On the top, I have it right. Now it's WRITE, right. Your decision you need to make. So the example I'm going to use is buy a new car. List the pro and cons of the decision. So on one side, on the left side, you put the pros, and usually on the right side, the cons. This is kind of like a standard cost-benefit analysis. Next step, give each pro and con a number from 1 to 10. Now you're going to go 1 being of no importance, and 5 being average importance, and 10 being life or death importance. So important that it might make a decision life or death. Like for instance, let's say you want to go to a bad neighborhood to score heroin. Well, one of the things you might get killed, and that's a 10. So that's not a good idea. Next step, try to have the same amount of pros and cons. If there are more than one or the other, delete the lower rated one until you have the same amount. So if, for example, if you have 8 pros and 6 cons, get rid of 2 of the pros and get rid of the 2 lowest rated ones. Okay, next step, add up both sides. The side with the more points wins. A tie goes to the one with the more pros and cons. Still a tie, the one with the highest reason. So for example, if you have a tie, each has 30, and one has a reason with 9, and one has the highest reason with 8, you go with the side with 9. Still a tie, you finally settle with a coin toss. Pro will get heads, tail will get cons. Now, this is your default decision. Setting a mulling over period based on the importance of your decision, you can still change your mind, but you can't go with your default decision. I don't know what I meant by that, but you still can go with your default decision. So your default decision is nice because it gives you a decision. You've made a decision now, but you can change it. At any point you could change it or you could change your cost benefits. You could say, well, this is more important, this is less important, but you have a set time. So, for example, my default decision for the car was buy a new car, and my final decision will be 11:59 p.m. I like to do that for some reason at night, 1 week from today. So I think about it. I get 1 week, okay? So I got my decision, buy a new car, but maybe something will come up. Maybe I'll think of something. So I actually do it, interestingly enough, and I actually come up with not buying a new car. But again, I'm not in the market for a new car. Um, I have no money. So I don't even have a car. Okay, so, and I just made this up. So the decision, I did it as an example. And again, by the way, I'm doing this podcast because a couple of things I might, go into might require, like I might say how to quit using a drug. And first of all, it's very important to convince you, quit smoking or whatever it is to, and maybe I'll use smoking as the example. One of the things is that you have to come up with a why, and so you have to think, well, and you'll see when smoking is one of the more interesting ones because you'll see that the pros outweigh the cons by a tremendous amount. I mean, it's just it's one of the most amazing. You'll see, the differences between decision. This one you can see it's going to be a -3. I think we'll do one for quit tobacco use or quit cigarettes, and it might be +24, something like that. It's really bad, and so dreaded disease, that's a 10, So, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do it on alcohol. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll do it on alcohol instead because it's just the decision's too easy. Okay, so let's see the pros. Buy a new car. Okay, now, what is some of the pros of buying a new car? Okay, and the first one by the way, I was lucky. I came up with the same number of pros and cons, so I don't have to pare them down. 5 pros, 5 cons. Okay, and by the way, as you mull over, the decision, you might be able to come up with more pros and cons. So let's say you came up with an 8 for a pro, you get rid of the 5, and that might bring you up a little bit. You might have to change your default decision. Okay, so the first pro is probably a new car. It's more reliable, right? Probably getting to less chance of getting stuck. So I said that was very important, right? So I say 8 is good. Let's say very important. I actually have words to describe what it is. 8 is very important. Okay, new features. Okay, so new car has some nice new features, and you might want those. It might have some better. I don't know what they have. Better. Better way of accident avoidance, and these things can save you a lot of money, a lot of headaches. So I said that was very important. Better gas mileage, right? When the car's made, it might have, electric, half electric, or whatever. So I said that was 6. And you might think that, that could be better by itself. So you might give that a better rating, better gas mileage. It might save you a lot of money. I gave it a 6, which I give above average, right? Better for the environment. Not a big environment fan, unfortunately. So I give it a 5, right? Better for status. Okay, you might say, well, that's kind of shallow, but, status is important. You're driving around in jalopy, or you're driving around in a nice new car. People just are idiots, and they can just think better of you. So I gave that a 7, which I equate to important, just important. So the 5 is important. I'm sorry, average importance. 6 is somewhat important. 7 is important. 8 is very important. 9 is extremely important. By the way, there were no 9s. And 10 is life or death important. So that's what I kind of give. Okay, let's go to the cons. So 34 is the total on the pros. Let's go to the cons. Okay, so the cons, number 9, might have trouble affording. Okay, I said that was extremely important because to me, in my problems in life, all have to do with money. If I would have not have spent the type of money, first I would have decent credit. Second of all, I might have money, a lot of money saved up. I live alone. I shouldn't have these type of problems. But again, my addiction and my addictive personality, I even see it when I'm off. I just want to buy things. Even I don't need to. It's a weird thing. Okay, high insurance rates. I said was an 8, which is very important. So I think, to me, money is really important. Anytime it comes up, it's just an important thing. Okay, new cars lose 70% of value when you turn off the lot. So maybe you should just get a pre-owned, BMW or something, or a pre-owned Lexus. So I said that was a 7, which again, to me, is, you say it as a word, it kind of makes more sense, important, right? Okay, next one, higher anxiety about getting into accident with a car, and I'm getting fucked up again, being dented, I say higher accident with, or car being dented by another car in parking lot. Okay, so that I gave a 7, which is also important. And again, now you got this new car, you got to worry about it. You got to, and then you come out one day and it's a good day, the sun's shining, and all of a sudden you see a dent in your brand new car. And you don't need that. And finally, I thought this was somewhat important. Can bring attention you don't want, like a carjacking or something, or robbery. You don't know. Might have to go to a bad neighborhood to see a client, if you're a lawyer or an accountant, whatever it is. So maybe your position where you work might affect this. So it was 34 for the pros, 37 for the cons, and the full decision is don't buy a car. And so notice I said -3. That means there were 3 more points for the cons than the pros. Now, at this point, you might say, okay, so I'm not going to buy a new car. That's it. No. now you got to. Now your decision making process begins. So now you have the decision. Well, somewhat. It's supposed to be like a pre-decision, and now you're going to have to make a final decision. And you set a date first of all, and you say, well, how important is this decision, and also how much time do I have? Now, since it's not a pressing matter, and by the way, what's good about it, you could be, you don't have to be in one place on vacation. You could be walking around, you could be on the subway, you could be at work. You could think of this, you could say, well, and new things could come up. Again, I don't know. I'm not in the market for a new car. So I decided, just at random, I'll give myself 2 weeks. And 2 weeks would be Sunday, November 4th. And I always, for some reason, I'm very anal when it comes to this thing. And I used 11:59. I thought that would be an excellent time. Sunday at 11:59. Okay? So that would be my final decision. So now in the next 2 weeks, I get to think about, do I want to buy the car or not? And I can change my pros, my cons. I can come up with another decision. I could just say, fuck it, I'm buying a new car. But I never liked those 2 words, fuck it, because I got in a lot of trouble for them. So don't buy a new car is my default decision. That's in place. So let's say I'm thinking about, and the 2 weeks comes by, and I can't decide. I go with my default decision. That's it. And if the 2 weeks go by, let's say 1 week goes, you know what? I want to buy a new car. I deserve it. I have enough. Okay, so I might have to cut back on other things, but I want to go with it. I'm going to buy a new car. I could change my mind. So now you have your decision, and you have it again. And then if you decide, well, you might say, well, at this point, you would replace buy a new car, right? You still say -3, and then you would have another week to go to change it back, right? But that would now be your new default decision, and you could still change it, So you have another week to mull it over, and new things would come up. So again, the great thing about this system, it forces you into a decision. Now you must decide. There's no decisions where you can say, well, I'm not sure. You have to decide. You have to make a decision. And you can do this for anything. You want to go to a party, and you say, I don't want to go. I'm tired. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be working late the previous day, might not be bad. Could be a stressful day. But then the pros could be you could meet people, you could network, all kinds of things. And and again, you might have a short window. I remember at the psych ward, I was trying to help this patient, and I used the system, and she didn't understand. She had basically two options. She had one option was to go to an inpatient clinic, but they do her teeth. She was missing her front teeth. And the other option was she would go upstate and live in Catskill, in like the Catskills in Liberty, New York. And she didn't understand that, okay, so you make one of a pro. So you make, let's say, live in Catskill, New York. Then the con is what? The con is go to inpatient clinic. So one of the pros is have freedom. One of the bad things about the inpatient, by the way, is they take all her paycheck. So again, she didn't understand that. She had a little problem with this. Not the brightest bulb, but I finally explained it to her that the pro of one thing is the con of the other thing. And then she had a problem when they were both when they're both pros of one thing, and they said, well, if they're pros of both things, then that's moot. You don't worry about it, right? If one thing's a pro of one thing and one thing's a pro of the other thing, then it's not. If a new car is more reliable and an old car is more reliable, then it wouldn't apply. It's moot. Okay, so it was a good podcast, and so again, I'm gonna be using this a lot. Cost benefit analysis. So again, maybe we'll do it on alcohol or tobacco. I don't know. I think alcohol might be. Tobacco, I think it's just so bad. In terms, it really doesn't provide much. And just addiction, and people get addicted and they can't stop, and it's expensive. Alcohol's better because I think a lot of people have a problem with it, and it does have a lot of pleasure. I'm my sobriety, and I'm having a lot of problems. So, all right, so I'm gonna try to upload this tonight. I'm gonna go to the park, and hopefully we'll have this ready, and you'll see it tonight. All right, so thank you, and have a wonderful night. Tonight is October 22nd, 2018. Take care.